Hello everybody and welcome back to part 2 of What If the Z movies were canon. Before we start, I just want to say thanks for all the positive perception that the last episode got. It was something very different than anything I've done on the channel previously, so seeing that y'all enjoyed it so much, as I enjoyed writing it, is amazing. Even as I was writing this script over this past weekend, my channel has nearly doubled in subs, so I just want to say I'm extremely thankful for all the new faces. So let's get right back into the second part. Last time on What If the Z movies were canon, we saw the destruction of the revenge of Kami's past. Both his evil half, Piccolo Jr., and Garlic Jr., the son of his previous peer, have been sent into the dead zone. Earth's Guardian, feeling useless to do his job, uses his Kai Kai to teleport the Z fighters to a local hospital, and then straight back to the lookout, where he tells Mr. Popo that he has to get stronger, heading into the inner chamber of the lookout. We cut back to the hospital that the Z fighters were left at, with Goku and Raditz being admitted and told it may take a few days for their bodies to heal from their injuries. Raditz says that a healing pod would have fixed this in mere hours. Goku laughs this off and says to his brother that it will be out of here soon. Raditz, taking a minute to think when immediately tenses up and goes to touch his face with nothing being there. This is as soon as Bulma and Oolong enter the room, saying that Mr. Popo told them where they would be found. Raditz tells them that there's still danger, that Garlic Jr. was just the start of a much larger problem. The device that they saw on his face when they first met was a communication device, and that Vegeta and Nappa, two Saiyans, saw everything during their encounter with Garlic Jr. The wish orbs being used in the fights that took place until the device was destroyed. That means that they will most definitely be coming to Earth to use their Dragon Balls to wish to defeat Frieza. Goku steps in and says, isn't that exactly what he came to Earth to get him for? Raditz, becoming more mad, tells him that Vegeta and Nappa will kill everyone on the planet before they even use the Dragon Balls, and he will probably be included on that for being too weak during their previous fight. The Dragon Team is shocked by this, with Oolong speaking up and asking if the other Saiyans are as strong as him and Goku. Raditz tells him that he, who is the stronger of the two, isn't even half as strong as the weaker of the two Saiyans. Goku laughs it off and tells them that they will just have to start training as soon as they get out of here. As he finishes saying this, Kami and Yajirobe teleport into the room, with the latter of the two throwing two Senzu beans towards the Saiyans. The two of them instantly eat it, getting up from their hospital beds, with Goku starting to stretch and Raditz checking out on his destroyed armor. Kami, having overheard everything that was being said, says that Goku is right, and he has started to make preparations for just this. He asks Raditz how much time he estimates they have before the two Saiyans arrive to Earth. He says that based on the planet he last heard they were on before leaving to come to get Goku, that it may take 1 year before they make it to Earth if they're lucky. Kami nods and tells the two of them to come with him to the lookout to hear his plans he has had so far. On top of the lookout, we see some of the other Earth fighters have come to train as well with them, including Roshi, Tien, and Yamcha. He explains what we learned about the other Saiyans' arrival and says they have to start training now. He says that the Earthlings will train with him along on the lookout since they have more to learn than the Saiyans do. For Goku, he has asked someone in Otherworld to help with his training and says that they will leave shortly. Before doing so, he goes up to Raditz and tells him that he doesn't trust him, but at the moment he can't do anything about it. He says that they have the same goal since it seems that his companions have decided to make him a foe. Knowing that he is already the strongest on the planet, he should train Gohan since he will know Saiyan biology much more than any of those on Earth. Goku steps in and says to Raditz that he helps with Garlic Jr. and is crazy strong, so he will do an amazing job training Gohan. But he should probably tell Chi-Chi what they are doing before leaving. In doing so, Chi-Chi immediately faints from the news. Raditz tells his nephew that he won't be going easy on him like Kakarot would, before grabbing him and flying off somewhere. Kami and Goku appear in Otherworld at the desk of King Yima, where he greets Kami. Then Kami and Yima inform Goku of King Kai, in Snake Way, where he will be doing his training much like he does in the canon. Goku is pumped up about being able to train with someone strong and learn cool abilities. He starts his way down Snake Way, where he is slightly faster to that he is in the canon, but not by much. We then go over to Raditz, dropping down in the cold Arctic with a young Gohan shaking due to the temperature. He tells his nephew that they will start with a small spar and tells Gohan to use that strength he used against Garlic Jr. before to hit him. Gohan, being scared, runs up and tries to throw a punch that merely just taps against Raditz, with the older returning this with a swift hit from his tail, sending him into the ice formation nearby. He gets up weakly and asks his uncle what he was doing is nothing like what him and his dad count as sparring. Raditz yells out that he has to get strong to become a true Saiyan, to use that strength he saw before. Gohan cries out, he doesn't know what to do, and he starts to wail, with his tail coming into view of Raditz. He remembers that Kakarot lost his tail, but his son has the ability to transform into a great ape. He looks up into the sky, and as the moon starts to rise, he can see that he has a couple days before the full moon. We skip ahead to such, with Raditz taking his nephew's head and forcing him to look up at the full moon, making sure he doesn't do as the same. Gohan starts to transform into a great ape, with Raditz smiling, flying above the growing Gohan. After fully transforming, Gohan starts to go into a rage where he throws a punch at his uncle, with Raditz easily evading the attack before throwing a punch of his own, which pushes the giant ape back. By the way, Gohan would probably have a power level of 400 as a great ape, since in his current power level he will have probably a power level of 40 in his base with a couple days of training that him and his uncle are doing. After being sent back by Raditz, he yells out to Gohan to focus and overcome his beastly instincts and become stronger like the Saiyan he is. Gohan rebuttals this with a mouth beam directly at his uncle, which is evaded once again, hitting the ice caps behind him, causing them to crumble and start to melt due to the heat from the beam. After a few more minutes of trying to get Gohan to control his form without anything happening really, Raditz goes ahead and chops him on the back of the neck, knocking him out. He grabs the knocked out Gohan, taking him back to that woman's house for a meal and a mouthful of her nagging. After leaving the Arctic, we see that the ice caps that Gohan destroyed start to melt away, with a large building coming into view from under the ice. We then are in a dark corridor with the elderly man watching a screen where we see a recording of a previous Budokai Tenkaichi. A younger version of Master Roshi and Shin are in the finals, with a beam struggle being the deciding factor. Roshi uses his Kamehameha technique to overpower Shin's Dodon Ray, with him becoming the victor of the Budokai. The elderly man says that this is just exactly what they need for his master, with three silhouettes coming into view nodding before running out of the laboratory. On the lookout, we see that the Earthlings have started sparring matches, with Tien and Kami currently being in the middle of one. Kami, though being on the back foot, is able to stay in the fight due to his knowledge and techniques, and the two of them stop in their tracks as three alien-like creatures fly up to the lookout, pointing at Roshi, telling him to come with them. Roshi tells them that he is flattered and all, but they don't seem to be his type. The Biomen then launch at Roshi, with Yamcha and Krillin coming to support him. They are able to exchange a few blows, but with only a month or two of training, they currently aren't strong enough to beat the Biomen, and they end up taking Roshi. Kami, being surprised that another foe has appeared before the Saiyans have, searches for Raditz's key, where he sees that they are currently located on top of Mount Paozu at Goku's house. He moves the lookout towards the mountain and descends to alert Raditz on what just happened and search for his assistance. Raditz, after training with Gohan, has become able to sense ki much like Vegeta did on Namek, and can tell Kami is outside, and he tells Chi-Chi that he is done with his meal and gestures at Gohan to come along with him. She angrily yells at him, saying that he has studying to do, and he decides just to scoff and walk outside to see what the Namekian wants. Kami tells Raditz that another foe has appeared, and they may need his help in retrieving Master Roshi and defeating whoever took him. Raditz, seeing this is a waste of time and nothing compared to the ensuing threat of the Saiyans, declines and turns around to go back inside. but Kami stops him. Kami tells him that he has a way for them to grow much stronger at more than the current rate they are going right now, and a way to train that form that he has been going on with Gohan at any time. Raditz is surprised that Kami knows of his plans and is intrigued and agrees, and says to give him some of those beans and the bald one that was with him at Garlic's castle to take out any of the small fry that he sees beneath him. Raditz then turns around and tells Chi-Chi that Earth is in danger or whatever, and he needs Gohan, and he just grabs him and flies off, with Chi-Chi running out and yelling after him. He is then tailed by Krillin as they fly to the Arctic where Kami last sensed Roshi's energy. Gohan asks his uncle, weren't they just here a few days ago training? Raditz tells him that he is right, and they land down in front of a partly submerged structure in the ice. Raditz drops Gohan and tells him and Krillin that the power levels he can sense inside are much weaker than him, so they'll have to deal with them by themselves. With a deep guttural voice coming out from in front of them saying, "Who are you calling small fry?" as Mitsukatsune walks out of the laboratory to greet the three of them. Raditz sits down and he points for the two of them to go ahead as Gohan throws a punch at the yellow belly of the Bioman, with his fist sinking into the gut. Mitsukatsune throws his gut forward, throwing him back and hitting him into a hill behind Raditz. Krillin wipes off his shoulders and calmly says to leave this guy to him. He recently came up with a new technique that can be just what this guy needs, as he holds up his hand going into a circular motion. A disc of ki forms above him, with Krillin throwing it straight at the Bioman. Mitsukatsune, knowing that he can repulse basic ki attacks like this, just takes a stance preparing for the hit as it goes straight through his body, cutting him in two. He falls and Krillin pats himself on the back, with Raditz even saying that he is impressed that an Earthling can come up with such an attack as they make their way into the inner sanctum. They see Roshi in a tube with wires coming out of him from all different parts of his body, seemingly pumping him of some sort of liquid. Krillin immediately runs over to his master and tries to get him out, when Dr. Kochin comes out of the shadows and tells him that he wouldn't do that if he was Krillin, as wires wrap around Krillin, shocking him, bringing him to his knees. Gohan and Raditz jump towards him, trying to help him out, and the doctor then points out his cane with two Biomen interrupting the two Saiyans. But before we get into any fighting, let's go over some power levels for everybody. We have Raditz at a power level of 5,000 with his training with Gohan and stuff like that. And then Gohan has a power level of 415. Krillin has a power level of 685. Then Master Roshi, I would say, started with a power level of 250 when he was kidnapped on the lookout with training a couple months with Kami and them. But after being pumped with like these sedatives and stuff to get his body ready for Dr. Wheelo, I'm going to say his power level is around 400. Dr. Kochin has a power level of 10. Kishime, which we haven't seen as being one of the Biomen, has a power level of 3500. Ebifura with a power level of 4000. And Dr. Wheelo himself having a power level of 8500. Kishime takes his long whips protruding from the tops of his hands, sending them towards Gohan. The young Saiyan tries to stop this by firing ki blasts at the whips, sending them off course, while his uncle is on the upper hand against Ebifura, with him landing blow after blow into the Bioman, launching him into the nearby column. This Bioman gets back up out of the rubble and extends his hands, looking like he is about to launch a ki blast, but instead a gust of wind comes out of them, with it starting to freeze Raditz to the ground. He tries to hit the ice off of his legs, but he is nearly covered. In his last moments before he is encased completely, he launches a ki blast at the ground near Krillin, releasing the wires around his body. After getting up, he sees the situation he is in, and launches a volley of ki blasts towards the two Biomen, taking their attention away from Gohan and Raditz. Gohan, seeing his chance after Krillin taking away attention, goes over to his uncle and starts to knock away at the ice. Krillin, on the run from the two Biomen, is trying hard to dodge every attack, with one of them causing the tube that Roshi is to be hit and destroyed. Dr. Kochin yells out "No" as the water leaks from the tube and Roshi gets up from his coma-like state. Roshi is amazed by the strength he feels after getting back up and easily breaks out to go help his student. At the same time, Gohan helps Raditz enough for him to release his ki, breaking the ice from around him, with the Elder Saiyan flying off and firing a double Sunday at the two Biomen, paired with a Kamehameha from Roshi, killing the two Biomen straight up. A voice comes out over the intercom, saying that the body of the large spiky-haired one is much more extravagant than the Master Roshi, that his body will be the one that will make him whole again. Following this, the walls of the laboratory start to open up with a large robotic body being shown behind it. The laboratory, after the walls start to open up, starts to break with rubble and debris falling all around the Z-Fighters. Dr. Cochin is unluckily crushed by a piece of this debris, where we see that he was a robot all along, with parts of his body showing wiring and gears after being crushed. Dr. Wheelo then flies up with his claw-like hands, launching beams at the Z-Fighters, yelling out and saying how once he has Raditz's body, he will be the greatest being on the planet. Raditz dodges every beam, flying out to him, saying that Saiyans are already the greatest beings in the universe. The group starts their fight with Wheelo, with them taking turns getting attention away from the others while they attack the robotic body. This is showing to do some damage to Wheelo, but not enough to take him out outright. Krillin is able to launch another Kienzan with Wheelo dodging, but instead is hit by a Saturday crash and Kamehameha combo from Raditz and Roshi. Wheelo, seeing he is outnumbered and needs to do something fast, flies up into the air until the Z-Fighters can barely see him up in the atmosphere. He starts to become a large, growing red dot in the sky. Roshi is able to tell that this is an attack charging up and tells the rest of them to charge their strongest beam. They will have to release it at the same time so they have a chance of blowing back Wheelo's attack before it has a chance of hitting the earth. Raditz starts charging up a Saturday crash, with surprisingly Gohan doing up the same. Roshi and Krillin start the turtle skull technique, with all four of them releasing it at the same time as Wheelo's beam. The two beams of purple and blue merge into a violet-like beam that clashes into Wheelo's red one. The beam clash goes on for a bit, with either team looking like they're going to win. This is until the Z-Fighters charge up their ki, seemingly doubling out the output and overthrowing Wheelo's beam straight back at him, shooting him farther off into space, where he most likely is dead. The Z-Fighters fall down to the sheer exhaustion, with Raditz eating one of the sensus he received from Kami, grabbing his nephew after throwing two sensus to the other third. He flies off towards the lookout, dropping in front of Kami. Earth's Guardian sees that Raditz can be trusted, for now, as one of Earth's fighters, and tells him that his reward. Leading the two of them into the inner sanctum of the lookout and into a smaller room. He tells them that this is a place called the Pendulum Room, which allows those in it to experience fights from their memories in the past. Raditz is surprised by this, not knowing if it can be true. That is until Kami tells him to imagine the two Saiyans that are coming to Earth. Within seconds, the room changes from a metallic, panel-like room into a jungle-like planet. Raditz is amazed as in front of him are Vegeta and Nappa eating the bodies of insect-like beings. Vegeta asks what they are doing here and why he brought a Namekian and a child. I thought they were supposed to go get his brother. Nappa punches Gohan, launching him into the tree line, while Raditz takes his chance and throws a punch at Vegeta, with him catching it. After a few minutes, the three of them lay damaged and exhausted in the now unsimulated room. Raditz slams his fist and says he has to get much stronger, and he can't be the weakling that everybody thinks he is. And that's pretty much all we have for the Z-Fighters part of this story. But before we end off, we are transported into space, where we see two space pods with Vegeta and Nappa about to go into hibernation after taking out the planet. But before they leave, they see something weird on a nearby planet. Nappa goes out over his scouter, asking if Vegeta can see what's wrong with that planet down there. Why does it look so gray, and what's sticking out of it? Vegeta says that it looks like the rest of the planet is dead, and it seems to look like a large tree is protruding out of it. They change their coordinates and land down shortly after. The two Saiyans step out of their pods where they are greeted by another Saiyan and a team of aliens with a half-eaten fruit in the Saiyan's hand. The new Saiyan, known as Turles, asks why he has been graced with the presence of Prince Vegeta. And that's where we'll end off the second part of What If the Z movies were canon. And I just want to say how thankful I am again for just how much hype and love the first episode of this has been getting. I do, even though I got probably 10 comments saying how I pronounced Raditz's name was wrong. I did not even notice I was doing that. Hopefully I got his name right more this time. And in the next part, we are going to be diverging off from the Z Fighters for the most part, and doing a Tree of Might story that has Vegeta and Nappa be the two that face off Turles. Tell me what you think is going to happen in the next part. And I will see y'all next week. Goodbye.